Hello and welcome to today's Positive Living. I'm going to be chatting to Lisa Caddy, who is a trichologist at Philip Kingsley and knows everything there is to know about the impact menopause can have on your hair, which is a huge one for me. Hope you enjoy it. How does menopause affect your hair? It was actually one of my first symptoms.
Really, was it? Well, actually, it's probably not surprising because the perimenopause is when it all starts to happen. So when estrogen is declining, and estrogen is a very hormone-friendly hair, your hair loves it. So actually, I guess it can be that that's one of the first changes that you see. So some of the changes that women tell me that they experience with their hair at perimenopause and postmenopause, probably 4 different things. So they can either experience excessive hair shedding, so that's too much hair coming out when you shampoo. It might be that they're starting to see hair thinning, so that the top of the scalp is more visible, their parting's wider, or they report that their hair texture changes in terms of it might have become a bit more frizzy, or it feels more dry in terms of its condition. So there are those things that can happen, and largely we point the finger at lowering estrogen levels, and that's the trigger for all of those changes in the hair.
Yeah, mine was, I went to the GP and she said I had male pattern baldness. And I was like, I'm a woman. What's going on? Yeah.
Well, actually, that's a funny one because male pattern baldness and female pattern baldness are the same kind of hair loss. So it's the same trigger, the same cause, the same mechanism, but the word pattern in the description means that when the pattern that women tend to lose their hair is different to the pattern that males do. So males their pattern tends to be temple loss here and at the crown. But the female pattern, we tend to retain the front hairline, but we go thinner beyond here. So it is possible for a female to have male pattern baldness if that's the pattern that she's following, if she's going thinner at the temples and at the crown. But it isn't that common. Your GP may have meant that you're suffering from female pattern hair loss, but kind of got those two overlaps, unless her description is spot on and she can see the signs of what the male pattern hair loss looks like.
She's actually, now that you've said that, I forgive her because it is here and it is here where I've noticed it's receding.
Okay, so
I forgive her. Does hair loss affect every woman as they get older and through menopause?
Do you know, I think we should all expect some natural changes with age with the hair. It's not all associated with the menopause. You know, rarely if we're in our 50s or 60s, do we look at our hair in the mirror and say, I've got exactly the same head of hair that I had when I was 20 or 30. So we see those gradual changes anyway. But if those changes are a little bit more obvious and significant, so you're seeing a lot of hair fall, or you're seeing your parting become wider, then that can be because of the menopause. And I think to a degree, the menopause will probably affect most females' hair. It might be subtle for some females, but I think, you know, estrogen is such a great hormone for hair, and when we're losing it, it's bound to have that, even if it's a slight impact on the hair, yes.
So what can we do? If you go into Boots or Superdrug, you'll see loads and loads of supplements. Do they work? What treatments are available?
So it is a minefield when it comes to treatments for hair loss. There is so much out there, and I think it's really difficult for people to unravel. And the first thing is you have to identify your type of hair loss and what is causing that type of hair loss, and then you choose the appropriate treatment. But most of us can't self-diagnose. Supplements can be useful if the reason for your hair loss is because of nutritional factors. So supplements generally, if they're targeted for hair growth or to stop hair loss, they generally contain those essential vitamins and minerals like iron and vitamin B12 and vitamin D, which we know that if you are deficient in, you can experience some hair loss. But supplements are only the answer for nutritional causes of hair loss. They won't correct genetic female or male pattern hair loss. They won't correct everything. They're only targeted for nutritional factors when there's a problem with those.
So what else can we do to try and reduce the hair loss? Or just, a lot of women have contacted me and say my hair's gone very, very dry. So what is available? What can we do?
So if the main complaint, the hair is dry, and that can be because lots of things slow down during the menopause, so we lose energy, skin starts to change and maybe become dry and lose elasticity. Well, the scalp is skin as well, so oil production slows down, so we might find the hair becomes a bit more wiry, a bit more frizzy. So the first thing to do is to make sure the condition of your hair is really good. So I'm a big fan of using a hair mask. They absolutely do work, just choose the right one. So use a hair mask once to twice a week to give you back that hydration and nourishment. Use some really good styling products that help you to manage your hair in a way that looks nice for you and that feels acceptable for you. Make sure that you keep heat to a minimum on your hair. So if it's feeling out of condition, make sure your hair dry is not too hot, it's not too close to your hair. And make sure that you shampoo frequently. Lots of people slow down their shampoo frequency as they get older because hair's not becoming so oily, but it's still important to clean your scalp because your scalp is the bedrock of hair growth. So still important to shampoo really frequently. But there are lots of treatments out there which claim to treat hair loss that's caused because of the menopause. But I would just say take great care because there are very few treatments which are actually effective that will help to put the brakes on with hair loss associated with the menopause.
Shampooing's a big one because I suffer from an itchy scalp. My whole body is itching at the moment, and of course my scalp's there. And so I was trying not to put anything on my hair. And it was my husband who says, go get the Philip Kingsley again because he's used it in the past. So he got the itchy scalp and I was like, okay, so I'll use this once a week. And he's like, no, you have to shampoo every day.
He's good.
And it really, really works. It really works. And
it really does.
I have a bottle of the toner so nobody thinks I'm lying. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, you know, and even actually when most people develop a flaky or an itchy scalp, the first thing they do is to slow down their shampoo frequency and think, I'm not going to put anything onto my scalp, not even shampoo. Well, actually, you should do the opposite. It's good to shampoo more frequently. Often itchy scalps are because of an increase in presence of yeast on the scalp, which causes the itching. So if you can clean that away really frequently, it's better for your scalp health.
Does HRT help with your hair?
Yes, it can, because, you know, to remember that estrogen's great for hair, and when we're losing it, what estrogen does actually is it keeps hair in its growth phase for its maximum amount of time. So you can find when your estrogen's diminishing, you shed more hairs on a daily basis. So reintroducing some HRT, some estrogen combined with other things into your body will help to restore some of those estrogen levels. It won't take your estrogen back to where it was, but it will help to relieve some symptoms. So it can definitely help with the hair, but I would just say, because that estrogen is going to mostly combined with other ingredients, it's the other ingredients which actually can have a detrimental effect on the hair. So your choice of HRT is really important. And what I would say is, if you have a HRT which, and you also supplement with testosterone to help with libido and energy, testosterone can trigger or worsen hair thinning in some people if they have a genetic predisposition to female pattern hair loss. Adding testosterone in can worsen the hair loss actually. So it is important that you do research into your choice of HRT and look for the ones that are most hair friendly.
And what about just products? Is there anything in products we should avoid? Is there anything to look for?
That's a really good question because, you know, there's lots of talks about parabens and sulfates and all of those things. And I would say, choose products that you love on your hair that give you a really good result. Don't focus too much on the ingredients. In terms of parabens and sulfates, you know, you have to look at a formulation as a whole. So if you look at a shampoo that's got some sodium lauryl sulfate in it, it may, if it's a premium shampoo, it may well be packed with other great ingredients that will knock out any detrimental effects of the sodium lauryl sulfate to your hair. So we have to look at a whole formula of a product rather than just isolating ingredients. So I would say there's nothing that's actually currently available in shampoos and conditioners which is going to be really harmful for your hair. If you've got a very sensitive or itchy scalp, you may be someone who needs to avoid harsh shampoos. That's all really.
And tell me exactly what a trichologist does. It's a very fancy title.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, what exactly do you do?
So I'm a hair and scalp specialist. So trichology is a branch of dermatology. So dermatologists look at the skin as a whole, top to toe, and trichologists just look at the skin and the hair that's kind of from the chin upwards. So we look at we help clients who've got all sorts of problems with the hair or scalp. So it might be they're suffering from scalp diseases or scalp conditions such as psoriasis, eczema. They might have hair loss of any description, or they might have what we call cosmetic damage to the hair. So they've over-processed or overheated and really damaged their hair. So we have private consultations with our clients. We spend a full hour with them. We diagnose, hopefully, their condition by the end of that time, and off they go home with their appropriate treatment plan that's bespoke for their condition.
They went, like I tried for my hair loss, I tried Regain, was it called? And
Yeah.
I came out with very fuzzy hair on my head, my face, and nothing on my head. Do these things work? Do they have a good reputation amongst you?
Do you know the key ingredient in Regain is something called Minoxidil, and Minoxidil is licensed, which means it works and it's safe to use. So we actually use it as a base in some of our formulas for prescription scalp products in our clinic, which are intended for female and male pattern hair loss. So Minoxidil is a very effective form of treatment for that kind of hair loss. Not everyone responds to Minoxidil though. There's a small proportion of people that don't grow more hair, but it does have a reputation for giving you a little bit of fuzzy hair here and there. And again, not everyone suffers from it, but it is going to be, if you're going to invest in a hair loss treatment, something containing Minoxidil is going to be your best bet.
And finally, what are your 3 top tips for women to look after their hair during menopause?
I would say keep an eye on your diet. I think lots of us underestimate how important a really good and inclusive diet can be. So make sure you eat plenty of protein. So you have protein at breakfast, lunch and dinner. You don't skip any meals, and you don't cut out any important food groups or any food groups. You know, I think lots of women experience weight gain when they're going through the menopause and then try desperately to go on a diet, but that can have a detrimental effect for hair. Hair cells are very hungry and they do need regular food, and they need a broad array of food. So watch the diet, make sure it's healthy and it's all inclusive. Check that choice of HRT if you are an HRT, and make sure it has those hair friendly ingredients in. And if you can avoid testosterone in your HRT, then it's perhaps a good thing to do. And take care of your hair from an external point of view. So making sure that if you're out in the sunshine, you keep your hair covered up, or you use UV protectors. Use a weekly hair mask, use a good heat protector spray, especially if you're using flat irons or a hairdryer. And treat your hair like a cashmere sweater. So treat it respectfully and really gently, and it will serve you well.
I love that analogy. That's really cool. Thank you so much, Lisa. That was fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.